You've seen him in the trailers for the new movie, which means of course he was part of the team in the comics too. It makes total sense for Bucky to be on the Thunderbolts. It started out as a team made up of mainly like villains pretending to be good to gain power after the Avengers disappeared. Some of the villains discovered that they actually enjoyed being good people, but others remained evil, caused a lot of problems for the team, and it still does if we're being honest. Bucky Barnes in the comics wasn't a founding member of the Thunderbolts, but he was the leader at one point, which meant that was when the team was a good team. Bucky's body operates at peak conditions at all times thanks to the Infinity Formula administered to him by Nick Fury. Obviously, it's not fun that at the beginning of his journey Bucky was brainwashed, but my goodness did he learn to fight and wield literally any weapon. His combat training would make him an intimidating foe even without being supercharged. Probably his most famous power though, what makes it clear you're looking at Bucky Barnes, is the metal arm. Up next, the formidable Monica Rambeau, also known as Photon. Monica was initially offered a role leading the Thunderbolts, but she turned it down. At the time of the offer, Luke Cage was reassembling the team and putting a focus on making it clear it was a good team this time. He asked Monica to be the leader, but she declined because she felt it was more like a publicity stunt than good faith work. In the end, she decided to join the team and supervise the chosen leader, Hawkeye. Monica was a great addition to the Thunderbolts. She transforms her body into various forms of energy within the electromagnetic spectrum. The form of energy comes with individual benefits. If it's one that the eye can't perceive, then the eye can't perceive Monica either. No matter what, she's flying, she's blasting, and moves really fast. All in all, she was a 10 out of 10 teammate. Radioactive Man has fought the Thunderbolts and joined the team. He has range. I'm sure the Thunderbolts preferred him on the team though. In case you haven't guessed from his name, Radioactive Man has radiation-based powers. Shocking news. He was exposed to a lot of radiation, and instead of dying, he just gained the ability to manipulate any radiation, even that found in other supers. He can just shut their powers off. He can manipulate his radiation to make himself more resistant to physical attack, blast energy beams. If you hit him too hard, you risk him literally going off like a nuclear weapon. He can breathe underwater, and speaking of water, this guy created an underwater radiation-based poison that spreads through breathing. So obviously he's also a genius. An evil one, but still a genius. And speaking of geniuses, up next it's either Genis or Genius Vel. It kind of depends on who you're asking. I'm gonna say Genius Vel. He actually went by both Captain Marvel and Photon at one point, which caused some problems with Monica Rambeau, but they worked it out. Vel was initially introduced to the Thunderbolts because he knew that in the future, a member of the team, Songbird, was going to be his wife, so he went to meet her. They didn't get together right away, but he did join the team. Vel has quite the backstory. He is part Kree super soldier, his dad was Captain Marvel, and he was genetically engineered using Titan tech. So he's got all the bells and whistles like super strength and speed and flight, plus he casts illusions and force fields. He's incredibly intelligent and even became smarter after bonding to Rick Jones and activating his cosmic awareness. He does have a failsafe built in. He can't survive underwater, so there is some hope of defeat if he ever starts acting up. Of course, Miss America had to make this list, even though she is a pretty new recruit. Miss America is still quite young in the MCU and comics-wise, so while she has demonstrated lots of different powers, it's still unclear where it all runs out. But what we do know is this girl can fly, smash star-shaped portals that let her hop across the multiverse, travel through time, is practically indestructible, and can move so fast everything around her stands still. We should be glad she's a good person. Miss America was part of the Thunderbolts' recent sort of rebrand. The reputation of the team in universe wasn't doing so great, so Luke Cage literally hired a PR person to create a team that would heal the brand, and that's how good old Miss America made the list. Robert Baldwin, aka Speedball, lives up to his name. He is a ball of energy. He gained his powers after he was exposed to kinetic energy from another dimension. The way he works is he creates a barrier around himself that absorbs all kinetic energy thrown at him. Nothing can hurt him in that state. He was once deduced by hindsight to be an embodiment of time and motion. It appears that Speedball can, to some degree, manipulate his own molecules. He makes his suit and can change it at will. Of course, absorbing kinetic energy means that he can also release that energy in the form of energy beams or flight. It was also discovered that as Speedball, he is immune to telepathic influence. As Robert, and I guess also technically as Speedball, he is a skilled hacker, so very, very smart. Speedball is not currently a member of the team, but he has been known to jump around, so maybe he will be back on the roster soon. Songbird, also known as Melissa Gold once led the Thunderbolts, and it's not hard to see why. She was also one of the original members. Songbird is extremely powerful, and once she was given the chance to be the good guy, she latched onto that and tried steering the team down an honest path. Songbird's thing is literally screaming. Her screams are so loud. Her screaming beside you is kind of like if you were to stand beside a jet as it's taking off. The screams are loud, but to make things interesting, the note she screams at also matters. The note A causes temporary blindness, high C's hallucinations, and low C's anxiety-like symptoms. Other notes cause bodily harm or induce sickness-like symptoms. Overall, not only would someone screaming at you just be annoying, it would literally hurt you. At one point, Songbird screamed so loud she threw out her voice and was given vocal implants. Those came with their own bonus features, like the ability to produce force fields, control minds, hit someone with pure sound force, and even create wings on her back so she can fly. That's just her niche power. In addition to her trademark, she is also trained in combat, which made her as fit as a person can be. Her time in the Thunderbolts taught her how to fly various aircrafts, and to top it all off, she's apparently a really good singer. I'd be more concerned if she wasn't, honestly. Luke Cage also led the Thunderbolts in the era when the team wanted to turn the rep around. Luke Cage is one of the coolest Marvel characters out there. Speaking power-wise, yeah, he's cool, but his aura is what puts him on another level. He is a super soldier, so that means he is super strong, super good at fighting, and super hard to break since he is invulnerable. Luke Cage doesn't have many weaknesses, but the ones he does have are totally unexpected. He has to deal with his skin being so hard to break that were he to need surgery, he couldn't unless the doctor had very specific tools. It's kind of hilarious he is so invulnerable, it swung back around to him being vulnerable again, but in a different way. Thankfully, he does have a healing factor, so it would have to get really bad for this to ever be a problem. Hyperion might not have been a good guy after all, but he did still join the Thunderbolts and is considered one of the strongest Eternals and a level 12 threat. He was apparently created to be an imitation of Superman, so it makes sense that he's got all of his powers: flight, heat vision, invulnerability, immortality, and the list goes on and on and on. And it wouldn't be a Superman copy without a weakness to some random rock. In Hyperion's case, that rock is Argonite. It's a good thing that he has this weakness because it came in handy. He is not a good person. He's actually probably the worst one could be. He ended up on Earth and was recruited into the Thunderbolts. He pretended that he was a good version of himself and the evil version switched universes with him. Good enough story for the Thunderbolts, I guess, and soon he was helping them fight giant monsters in Japan. It was in this fight the Thunderbolts realized they messed up because he turned on them mid-battle, literally blowing some of the teammates into the water and cutting Man-Thing in half. He even fought Juggernaut and nearly won until the team used the Argonite and got him back, but without that rock, this guy would have been unstoppable. Despite being cut in half though, Man-Thing is actually pretty powerful. He is the guardian of the nexus of all realities. In short, he can open up portals because he is time and space. His job also gives him the ability to put pieces of one reality into another, even changing the pieces to fit better in the new setting. His only, not even weakness, but just like a drawback I guess, is that he has to have seen a place to open a portal to it. But the thing is like pictures are fine, so this isn't really that much of a weakness to me. Man-Thing doesn't really have a brain, but he is hyper aware of his surroundings and can communicate with others. He speaks a universal language, however the person he's communicating with wants to hear him is how he will be heard. And that is the coolest thing in the entire world. Man-Thing doesn't have emotions necessarily, but he does react to the emotions around him. If someone is super angry and provokes him, Man-Thing will hit them with some burning acid, which is exactly what happened to Hyperion. Man-Thing can regenerate from pretty much any blow using plant and vegetable matter. He is also super strong, he flies, and can grow to the size of a skyscraper. Man-Thing helped out Luke Cage's Thunderbolts many times, including the battle in Japan and another in Chicago.
Number 10. Bullseye. While Lester might not be powerful in the more traditional sense of being, the most swole, his abilities do make him a rather deadly opponent. Bullseye might not have many superpowers to boast of, but he does have the almost superhuman skill of being able to hit a bullseye with almost any projectile. Bullseye is a master marksman known for his deadly accuracy, but he also does have something that makes him more durable than most: adamantium. Adamantium is fused with part of his skeleton in a process similar to the one Wolverine underwent. In fact, it was the man who originally came up with that process, Lady Deathstrike's father, Lord Darkwing, aka Kenji Oyama, who gave Bullseye this power. Bullseye was initially recruited to join Norman Osborn's Thunderbolts. Number 9. Rhino. Rhino might be a ridiculous villain on paper and in the 60s Spider-Man cartoon, but he also happens to be one of the most powerful when it comes to Spider-Man's gallery of rogues. Rhino is Alexei Sistovich, a villain who started out as a goon for the Russian mafia, dreaming of wealth and power. Alexei ended up being convinced to participate in a series of treatments which would inevitably grant him super strength through bonding him to an armor that was fashioned to look like a rhinoceros. As such, he is not only super strong, but also is super fast and super durable, although not so bright. Rhino actually ended up becoming a member of Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin's own Thunderbolts team, which was assembled during the King in Black event. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more lists like it, be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. After all, there are tons more Thunderbolt members, tons more! Number 8. Plant Man. Some might think of Plant Man as a B or even a C-list villain, and based on how much he's shown up in the comics over the years and what he has, or rather kinda hasn't, managed to accomplish in his villainy, you'd kinda be right. But Plant Man also recently got a pretty big power up in the comics thanks to the Empire event and the Kotati, who he allied himself with during their attack on Earth. The Kotati are a plant-like race who were once the neighbors of the Kree. They're much more peaceful but highly advanced neighbors, who were actually pitted against the Kree when the Skrulls came to visit. Bearing a grudge for the Kree, the Skrull, and the humans of Earth, the Kotati set out to destroy all animal-based life. Plant Man decided to join their side as, at this point, Samuel Smithers identified more as a plant than a man, and in fact didn't even like his human name being used. His powers allow him to communicate with and command plant and vegetable matter. He also seems to be somewhat telepathic, and as he is now completely made of vegetable matter, he can control his density and size, making him very hard to destroy and super strong and durable when he wants to be. It was during his time with the Thunderbolts that Plant Man actually took the name Blackheath for himself, which is currently what he prefers to go by. It's either Blackheath or Plant Man. Number 7. Taskmaster. Taskmaster wasn't just a member of the Thunderbolts, he's also been known for being their leader. Like Rhino before him, Taskmaster was also recruited to join the Kingpin's version of the team, but has been involved with the Thunderbolts even before that. Taskmaster is Tony Masters in the comics, a man who is known for being an extremely efficient mercenary and assassin. He has what's referred to as photographic reflexes, which were gifted to him via an experimental version of the Super Soldier Serum. However, even before he was injected with the serum, Masters had the skill to watch various abilities and moves and just be able to replicate them just from seeing them. But now that ability is pretty much instantaneous. The serum also greatly enhanced his short-term memory and heightened his reflexes and speed to superhuman levels. Number 6. Star. Star was one of the villains recruited into Kingpin's Thunderbolts team. Initially, Star was posing as a hero. She underwent a treatment that made her half Kree and part of Minerva's plot to isolate and then later recruit Captain Marvel, aka Carol Danvers. Before she was known as Star though, she was Ripley Ryan, a reporter who actually was saved at one point by Captain Marvel herself. Minerva, having also promised Star superpowers however, decided to siphon them from Carol Danvers, due to an earlier plot which gave her the abilities to basically do so. Really, she just wanted to alienate Carol and ruin her reputation so that Captain Marvel would join the Kree Empire. She didn't really want to hurt Carol in the long run. However, when Star found out about the fact that Minerva wanted to recruit Carol, she became jealous and almost killed Minerva in a rage. The fight came down to Captain Marvel versus Star, with Carol removing the devices in both her own and Ripley's chests, which allowed Star to siphon her powers. Later on though, Star would become merged with the Reality Stone, giving her access to unlimited amounts of reality-altering power. However, Star is not very experienced in her use of these powers yet, but she does have great potential, which is why I ranked her so high on this list. Number 5. Juggernaut. Juggernaut is Kane Marco, the villainous stepbrother of Charles Xavier, aka Professor X. Unlike his brother Charles, Kane himself is a human, not a mutant, and he originally got his powers from Cyttorak, being granted the Crimson Gem of Cyttorak, and becoming his champion on Earth. Currently though, Juggernaut's ties to Cyttorak as his champion and avatar have been broken. Instead, for his powers, Juggernaut relies on the Crimson Bands of Cyttorak, which do not tie the user to Cyttorak's will in the same way. This means that that Kane now basically gets to operate independent of Cyttorak's will or influence, using the powers of the Crimson Band armor for his own interests. Kane became a member of Luke Cage's Thunderbolts team for a time before he was made into one of the Serpent's champions during the Fear Itself event. Number 4. Genis Val. Genis Val is the son of Mar-Val, and honestly, he's kind of the worst in my opinion, but he is also very powerful and actually died during his time on the Thunderbolts team, which means he definitely deserves a place on this list. However, I refuse to name this point after his last super codename, Photon, because I cannot abide by all the codename stealing that he did. Like, you make Monica Rambeau give up the Captain Marvel mantle for you, and then you come back to Earth and demand Photon as well? Too rude, sir. Too rude. Regardless of his name theft, Genis Val was known for being extremely powerful due to his heritage as both a Kree and a Titan. His energy-based powers as a result were known for being off the charts. Number 3. Moonstone. You know I have to give love to my girl Karla Sofin. Moonstone is probably one of the most powerful members of the Thunderbolts to have ever joined the team. Initially, she got her powers from the Moonstone, hence her name. She stole it from the previous Moonstone, Lloyd Bloch, actually using her psychiatric skills to emotionally traumatize Bloch to the point that his body rejected the stone, allowing her to take it for herself. Moonstone has stood up against and taken down Carol Danvers, one of the strongest heroes in the Marvel Universe, and Karla herself has been a longtime enemy of Danvers, going back through to her Miss Marvel days. Currently, Karla is fused with the Kree Gravity Stone, which is what grants Karla her current powers. She still goes by the name Moonstone though. Karla initially joined the original Thunderbolts under the guise of the heroic codename Meteorite. Number 2. Atlas. Coming our way from the original Thunderbolts team is Atlas. Atlas, however, was formerly known as Goliath, and prior to that actually had a series of other codenames including Power Man. Atlas, as one of the original members of the Thunderbolts, was also known for being a member of the Masters of Evil, who were revealed of course to be the team of heroes that we had come to know as the Thunderbolts. Dun dun dun, what a twist. Atlas himself is known for being able to change size due to Pym particles and his ability to charge himself with ionic energy, or his ionic energy form if you will. He can use ionic energy not only to change his size, but he can also channel it into increased durability or super strength as he sees fit. I would normally put Genis Val and Moonstone above someone like Atlas, but it also should be noted, I think this is really important, that Genis Val is, currently dead, while Atlas is currently virtually indestructible and immortal. Through his connection to ionic energy, as long as he has the willpower to, he can basically resurrect himself pretty much indefinitely, because he's ionic energy. Does that make sense? I think it makes sense. I think it's pretty cool. Number 1. Kobik. Kobik is a being who is the Cosmic Cube incarnate. While Kobik is often known for taking the form of a child, as during her creation she felt broken and confused, she is extremely powerful. Harnessing the power of the Cosmic Cube, which of course is her, means that Kobik can alter reality with a mere whim, and beyond that has access to seemingly limitless power. Kobik would end up being influenced by Red Skull into warping reality so that Captain America became a longtime Hydra loyalist and sleeper agent, with Kobik believing this was a good thing to do, due to Red Skull's influence. While Hydra Steve was plotting away and eventually wreaking havoc on the US, Kobik would end up joining forces with Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, in an attempt to prove herself to be capable of good. Obviously she felt a little bit bad about everything that had gone on. Kobik would gather her own team of Thunderbolts, who Winter Soldier would then lead.
In at number 10 though is Red Hulk. Red Hulk may not have been a member of the regular Thunderbolts team, but he actually led his very own Thunderbolts team, so I'm including him here, and one other member from that team on this list. As most people know, Red Hulk is, well, a Hulk, meaning he has insane levels of super strength and durability that has allowed him to do things like overpowering and killing the Abomination with ease, punching out the Watcher, taking down an Elder of the Universe, and defeating an Odin Force-powered Thor in a one-on-one fight, though it should be noted that Thor was unprepared for him at the time. But what some might not know is his other 2 abilities. Red Hulk constantly gives off gamma radiation, which increases the angrier he gets, even sometimes making him appear to be on fire. And if he gets too angry, he can even explode in gamma fire. But Ross can also absorb energy, mostly gamma, but he apparently has a real taste for cosmic power. He has also absorbed and taken the Silver Surfer's power cosmic, flying away on his surfboard. Cowabunga, dude. Number 9. Moonstone. Carla Sofin was a not-so-moral psychiatrist who particularly enjoyed manipulating her patients into paranoia rather than helping them. So we're off to a good start here. This led to her being an assistant of the villain Dr. Faustus, and her manipulative skills only grew under his teachings. This allowed her to get time with Lloyd Bloch, who is the original Moonstone. She gave Lloyd hallucinogens and persuaded him into giving her the Moonstone and the Kree device that granted him immense powers, which include 10-ton superhuman strength, super speed, stamina, durability, agility, reflexes, and flight, as well as, thanks to the Gravity Stone, the ability to control gravitational forces, enabling her to move and otherwise manipulate matter, to create force fields, to increase gravity around a target and crush it, to generate miniature black holes, and even to transport objects through dimensional rifts. Number 8. Songbird. Melissa Gold, who goes by the superhero alias Songbird, is a human mutate with vocal cord based sound abilities that were later replaced by a set of vocal cord implants and an external harness thanks to Roxxon. Now this allowed her to do a whole bunch of really cool science fiction-y things like generating powerful sonic blasts, sonic force fields, influencing others with high-pitched sonic vibrations, and she can even create solid objects from sound, including battering rams, pincers, projectiles, giant hands, platforms, and wings that she can use to fly at supersonic speeds. The process that granted her these crazy powers also happened to give her super strength, capable of lifting 2 tons, and of course, she has the other basics like durability, stamina, reflexes, agility, and speed. What do you think of this? Kinda nuts. And at number 7 is America Chavez. While I feel as though a lot of people do really like America Chavez, I feel like a lot of people are not fully aware of her powers and just how awesome they can be. America has the physiology of an extra-dimensional being, which gives her the ability to channel interdimensional energies through her body. She's used these energies in a number of different ways and never to their peak extent. So some of these powers she has displayed using these energies include self-propelled flight, superhuman speed, and superhuman strength that nearly allowed her to beat Loki in a fight. She is nearly indestructible and invulnerable, possesses superhuman longevity, hyper-cosmic awareness, and her signature move, the star-shaped portals that enable her to traverse time and the multiverse. She can also use them offensively as a spatial slicer, and the portals even allow her to access the Starling Highway. She's truly a powerhouse. Number 6. Persuasion. Persuasion is Kara Kilgrave, the daughter of Zebediah Kilgrave, otherwise known as the Purple Man. Similar to her father, Persuasion earns that name with the ability to release pheromones that can place people into an extremely susceptible state that puts them at Kara's every command. The difference between her and her father, though, is that when Kara is persuading someone and using her abilities, they also turn the same shade of purple as her, which means it would be very hard for her to use her abilities with any form of subtlety. Her abilities also don't work on symbiotes or their current hosts, so there's that as well. Sorry girl, you are cool, but your dad, he's kinda cooler. Whoops. Number 5. Penance/Speedball. Once Robert Baldwin, also known as Speedball, discovered his powers were still working after the Stanford incident, his powers evolved and he ordered a new, very metal-looking suit with 612 internal spikes that constantly caused him pain for the 612 lives that were lost in Stamford, Connecticut. He joined the new Thunderbolts team with his ability to create a kinetic field of unknown energy around himself, which absorbed all kinetic energy directed against him. With his kinetic field, it was nearly impossible for him to be hurt, and he instead bounced around harmlessly from object to object with no loss or transference of momentum. But as penance, with this new cool suit, Robbie's powers evolved, allowing him to absorb energy from his surroundings such as kinetic activity, electricity, and the radiation signatures of other super beings, which was then harnessed as kinetic release, causing explosive force to radiate from his body body, firing lance beams of pure force from his hands, or even allowing him to fly. Penance initially required physical pain in order to activate these powers, hence the spikes and the name. And his bubble field powers appeared to be gone, but Doc Samson later showed Robbie that his powers were actually affected by his mindset, and he could reactivate his speedball powers with relaxed, positive thinking. Number 4. Atlas. On a delivery to South America, American soldier and mercenary Eric Jostin was mutated by Amora the Enchantress using Baron Zemo's ionic ray, infusing him with ionic energy. He took on a few different names as a villain, including Power Man, Smuggler, and Goliath, after using Pym particles to further enhance himself, but trying to become a hero, he joined the Thunderbolts and took on the name Atlas. But enough backstory. What powers did this ionic energy give Eric? Well, he can channel the energy into strength capable of lifting 30 tons, but thanks to the Pym particles, he can grow in size, increasing his strength to an almost immeasurable amount. He has limitless stamina, invulnerability, and increased perception and reflexes. But the interesting part of Atlas comes when he is in his energy form. In this form, Atlas is capable of adaptive possession, which he did with his old lover Dallas, self-propelled flight, energy manipulation and phasing, self-sustenance and immortality, as well as pan-dimensional phasing and the creation of breaches that act as doorways between the 616 universe and the microverse. Number 3. Lady Deathstrike. Yuriko Oyama is the daughter of Kenji Oyama, who eventually becomes Lord Darkwind and develops a way to use adamantium to enhance individuals, which was stolen by William Stryker. Yuriko did not like her father that much, and with the help of Daredevil, actually ended him. This inadvertently caused the loss of her lover though, which twisted her into taking after her father and enacting a vendetta against Wolverine for his adamantium skeleton that was given to him by the process stolen from Lord Darkwind. Yuriko took on the name Lady Deathstrike, and she also enhanced herself with adamantium claws and a cyborg body. Almost every single thing she does is in service of her vendetta against Wolverine, except for the Thunderbolts, which is a team she was just kinda on, even though Bullseye, who she also hated, was on that team as well. Her 12-inch long claws, much like her cybernetic skeleton, are laced with adamantium and enable her to cut and pierce through pretty much any substance. Her physical attributes are also enhanced, and she possesses a cybernetic healing factor and even the ability to cybernetically interface her consciousness with external computer systems. In at number 2 is Mongoose. Okay, are you ready to be alarmed? Mongoose, as his name might suggest, and as I never imagined would be true, actually started life as a legit mongoose. The change came when he was experimented on by the High Evolutionary. This experimentation that created the New Men turned the mongoose into a sentient humanoid being who retains some of his animalistic qualities. Like all mongoose, or mongoose, no, it's mongoose. This character can lift 10 tons, run fast enough to scale buildings, physically exert himself for 24 hours straight, sustain strikes from Spider-Man and Thor, and he has enhanced agility and reflexes, just like all mongoose, I guess. He can also use his teeth and claws as weapons alongside his gauntlets that produce a paralyzing gas. To my surprise, while he has pretty much no training, he has developed his own fighting style that is apparently similar to Spider-Man's. Number 1. King Cobra. In a world where a highly radioactive super spider can allow a young man to do all the things a spider can, like apparently swinging from building to building and being incredibly acrobatic, of course, there is someone who had the same thing happen but with a cobra instead. Klaus Voorhees was an ex-convict working with the medical research professor Ezekiel Schechter on a universal antitoxin for snake venom. Now, Voorhees induced one of the cobras kept in the laboratory to bite both Schechter and himself, planning to use the universal antitoxin to save himself from death. But what he didn't know is that the cobra had been irradiated, so the combination of the radioactive venom and the experimental antitoxin gave Voorhees cobra-like powers, which is apparently elasticity for some reason. All of the bones in his body, including his skull, are malleable, and his muscles are also extremely resilient, making his body and bones basically impossible to break. He can control every muscle in his body to slither at around 50 miles per hour without his arms or his legs, able to slither into and out of very tight and small spaces down to about 4 inches in diameter. Also, by using his flexibility to wrap himself around a victim's body and then exerting his full strength, the Cobra traps that victim within his Cobra grip, which is exceedingly difficult to escape.